welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Money with Friends. Every single Wednesday, we come to you to share some really important ideas and concepts. We tackle topics that are relevant and timely. So today, we posted earlier this week that we're going to have a Q&A. We know that every time I get off this call here, I get emails, I get messages from friends of the show who are asking, they're always asking questions or making comment. And some of you are very shy. We don't want you to be shy today because we want you to encourage us and we want you to get in the conversation. And we are expecting some friends to actually jump on later on today. So it's going to be a very excited, great day today. And I want you to be part of it. Today's topic is Your Questions Matter, because the questions you do not ask sometimes will definitely determine your outcome. And we want you to ask questions. Today has been a very hectic and emotional day for me. I went to a funeral, a gentleman that I've known and knew about since I was a child. Passed away after a long battle with cancer, and it was very emotional. But one of the things that I was saying to the ladies who are on today is that he left such a great legacy, and the man had such beautiful soul. And I felt I left there inspired, and at the same time too, as someone who works in the financial services field, I also had some questions, and I'm hoping that answers to my questions, like things like, what was planned for the family in terms of financial. So it's great to leave a great legacy, right, ladies? But at the end of the day, too, we want to talk about money. That's why we always say the questions that you do not ask can make a difference. So tonight, we're going to ask you to ask questions. How you doing, ladies, tonight?
Good. How are you?
Great. So we have Natalie and Lisa, and we are expecting a few other people to join us later on today. And Natalie, why don't you quickly say hello, and Lisa as well.
Hello. Good evening. It's nice to be with you guys again tonight. I look forward to the Q&As, and I had a great day today.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was a beautiful day, wasn't it?
I went outside for lunch. I had to. It was so nice.
I know it was like 60 in Boston, 65 in Boston. It's a great day. I know if you are part of a different part of the country or the world, you might think 65 is nice. Yes, for us, it was beautiful. And my friend, actually your auntie Lisa was with me, kept saying, wow, Pastor Joven was such a great guy. That's why, God gave him a beautiful day today, because tomorrow we're supposed to have a storm. And yesterday was not so great either. So yeah, they chose a perfect day for his funeral. So Lisa, how are you doing today?
Yes.
Oh, Lisa,
the weather was so nice.
Lisa, we having problem with your connections.
Clear in the connection. Day. Once the weather kind of warmed up, I said, "Oh, I have to sit outside for a little while." Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I said I went outside today, spent a little bit of time this morning. I wasn't feeling so well. And then I stepped outside with my dog, Charlie. But I'm doing great today. Just very thankful. Every moment and time that you have to spend with your family is always good.
Yeah. So, I'm a person of my word, and I wanted to, today, as I said, very emotional. I wasn't planning on crying, but it was an emotional funeral because, again, 66 for someone who's in their 20s, of course that's old, but for those of us who are getting up there in age, this is 66 to me is very young because my parents are a little older than that, and I just had such but one of the things that I really loved about the funeral, we had a pastor, and the pastor said, like, life is short. Live it slowly, but intentionally. What do you guys think about that?
Wow. I have to say, when he's saying live it slowly, is don't let things stress you out. There will always be things going on around you, but don't let it stress you out. But also living it intentionally. Set out how you want to live your life with intentions, either how you want to spend your day, your week, And that kind of goes into the whole planning idea. Planning, how do you want to live, where, how much do you need to be able to live a life really well, the way that you deem it to be. That's how.
Yeah, it's very important.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
One thing that Google Photos does, it always shows you what you were doing this time last year. And it's school vacation week in Boston. So this time last year, we went, well, not last year, but 4 years ago today, we went to see Disney on Ice. And then yesterday's memory was like 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, I went to go see a couple of colleges with my niece. I think in terms of living it slowly and intentionally, you don't think about the memories that you're making, like fully showing up for the day, fully showing up for your loved ones. You know, life is always going to have its ups and downs, but it's the memories we make that people remember, right? That's the legacy we leave behind.
Yeah, it's so important because I think and he also mentioned that, you know, don't live for success, but live for significance. You know, just the idea of you are here for a reason and we are here on purpose. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, how your purpose matters and that you should really be very intentional every single day, how you live and how you relate to other people, right, and how you touch in other people's lives. What differences are you making? You know, I always say I'm here to make a difference. And that's why sometimes you do get discouraged and you feel like, oh, you know, what am I doing this for? But it's making a difference in somebody's life. And that's why you keep on pushing forward. You keep on doing it because at the end of the day, you know, again, for someone that I really wasn't that close to, I got to his service and I was like, oh my gosh, homegoing service. And I was like very emotional because I was feeling the pain of the family and how they were, you know, like many of them came up to talk about his love and his passion and his compassion and how he brought everybody in closer to him instead of, you know, like most people push you away with their actions and their lack of love. And he was like a loving person. And I thought, wow, what a legacy, what a legacy. And, you know, he had a wife of 43 years. Wow. And she kept saying, wow, I've been with my husband since I was at, I think early 20s. And she said, I'm going to miss him. So we do Let's Talk Money with Friends because, you know, I always said, you know, we talk about money, but money encompasses everything. We've had a show called Legacy Matters. We've had a show that talks about family matters. We've had a show to talk about, you know, your purpose. So we've had numerous different type of shows. Why? Because we know money cannot be everything. Again, that's living your life slowly, but intentionally with purpose. So tonight we wanted to have a Q&A. And I know before we went online, Natalie, you said that you had a question that you wanted to share with the audience. And we will have you be the first one to ask that question.
Now I forgot my question.
You forgot your question. You said something about the lady that you've been following.
Oh, right. It's a lawyer. She does this estate planning. And I was listening to a podcast episode and she says, it's not a question of if you die, it's a question of when you die. Will your family be ready? You know, will you have your affairs in order so that you don't leave your family with a burden of cost, burden of going to probate court and all that stuff, or even the cost of the funeral. So many times we see GoFundMe accounts for funerals and
yeah, that's a lot here. You have a lot going on here. The first thing is like how you prepared, you know, it's not if, it's when. So again, it doesn't matter how beautiful, how gorgeous, how young and old, it doesn't matter. At any given moment, in any given moment, it could be your last day. So that's why I think we haven't done a show about faith or about like, you know, the next, you know, I think, you know, that's something that everybody should be thinking about, you know, like what would happen when you're no longer here to you. So, you know, we all gonna go. I was talking to this gentleman at the funeral. He's like, you know, this is the most painful part of life. You know, seeing a loved one, saying a goodbye to a loved one. But at the same time, too, he's like, we all can expect it. If once you had a day of birth, you are gonna have a day of death. You know,
Exactly.
another gentleman that I have a lot of respect for who passed away on Monday was Dr. Paul Farmer. Dr. Paul Farmer came to this world and made a difference. He made a difference in the lives of families in Haiti, Rwanda, and all over the world, actually, in Boston included. But he had a date of birth, and we all know that Monday was his date of death. So at the end of the day, we all gonna experience that. So what do? How do you leave your family behind? We did a show called Estate Planning. You know, estate planning matters. You know, why is it important to sit down and really have a conversation? Because some people are very lucky, like this gentleman, Pastor Joven, he was very lucky because he actually got sick and had an opportunity to live long enough to talk to his family and have conversations about his life and what he wants, you know, done with his, you know, when he's not here. But what about those who are, it's unexpected? Like, from what I heard and read on the news, like, you know, Paul Farmer, he went to sleep and didn't wake up. So it could happen. You could go out to work and you don't come back home. I know someone who went to the doctors and never came back home 4 years ago.
Wow.
Because a pain ended up being a major issue, which led to surgery, and that surgery never recuperated, never came back home. So this is not a show about like sadness. It's a show about like for you to think, like what would happen to me, what's gonna happen to me, not only me, but also my family if I'm not here. So the woman is correct. I mean, like what, not if, but when. So what do? So is your question about estate planning? Like,
Yeah.
should you plan for that? Yeah, definitely.
I think well, you should be planning for a rainy day. They tell you to have an emergency fund just in case something breaks or you have an emergency and you need the extra money. But we never think about like, what if I'm not here? You know,
Correct.
what if my loved ones need to lose my income? What if my loved ones need to bury me? Where's that coming from?
Yeah. So the first thing is that when I'm not here, it's not if, it's when I'm not here. When I'm not here. So you do the estate planning. Oh yes, Queen is joining us. Queen Dawn is joining us. When I'm not here, you do estate planning. You prepared for your estate. And that's with the will. You have power of attorneys just in case somebody gets sick and they cannot execute documents by themselves, for themselves. You definitely want to have power of attorneys. You want to have wills. You want to have a trust if you have enough asset for that. Yes, estate planning. You need to go see an attorney. So the quick question is, it doesn't matter who you are, especially if you have children. You need a will. You need so many legal documentation so that people know what you would like to have done when you're not here. And the only way they can do that, they can know that is if you take the time to prepare for that. So it's very important to do that. But in terms of like taking care, in terms of like financially taking care of your family, money matters. Didn't we do a show called Money Matters? Yeah. You need money. You need money to take care of bills and take care of everyday expenses, to send your children to college.
And also to generate generational wealth. Like, what are you leaving behind for your kids? Because that's one of the means where other people in this country pass on wealth to the next generation.
Yeah, I agree with you. So how do you do that? Life insurance. We did a show called Life Insurance Matters. My gosh, you need to have like a life insurance policy because it costs money. Final expenses for burial expenses, funeral expenses, the reception. We didn't get to go to the reception today because we're in a hurry to come back. But yeah, reception. And then if you have a spouse who's left behind, guess what? You need to take care of your spouse, right? You need to provide for them. So that's very important. And if you have minor kids, yes. But if you have older kids, again, the legacy, because there's nothing like papa or mama leaving something where they could take that money to start a business. They could take that money to buy a house, a first home, or pay off a mortgage, or use that money to pay off their children's education. So definitely. So the question is, when I die, when that happens, what should I have already done, prepared for that? Well, yeah, estate planning, go sit down with an attorney and have a conversation about, when I'm not here, what would I like to see happen to my family? And can you help me with that? And then, of course, talk to an insurance agent. I do that every single day. Help families prepared financially so that they can have something. I tell you, recently, a client of mine lost her husband, and she was able to receive a lump sum of money. And that money has given her peace of mind, knowing that she will be taken care of, and many of the things that she was trying to do and couldn't do before, and she's been able to do that. So you do have to take the time to plan. Do you have any question for us, Lisa?
Yes, and almost just to like add to that, you don't want your loved ones to have to deal with financial and figuring out your bank account, who will it go to, because they won't get access to it. So if you had money there, it'll take them a long time to get it, or they have to go through certain paperwork. So you want to avoid them from already grieving your loss. I mean, the loss of you, but also through the stress of filling out documents or going through probate court or siblings fighting or any of that. So if you kind of set it out in stone, everybody's at peace because they know exactly what you want, how you want it to be done. And I think that the peace and clarity with everyone, because you stated what you wanted.
Yeah, a person of integrity, a person who is a planner, someone who's taking care of themselves while they're alive, will take care of family members and loved ones while they're not here. And the only way you can do that is if you take the time, sit down with an attorney, create a plan, and sit, and have it written and have it sealed and delivered, so that when you're not here, your family, your loved ones, they know exactly what you would like done for yourself. Any question? Dawn, thank you for joining us today. We have a Q&A session.
Peace,
Hi,
Queen.
how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
It's always awesome. I know earlier today you had texted me. Yeah, you had texted me and said that, I'm gonna be with my mother, and that's why you might be running late. But you're always here to join this conversation, because I know every single day, at least every other day, I get a text from you about a question, about something. So tonight we talked about it, that we're gonna have a Q&A. Tonight is about Q&As, answers, questions that you have. What questions do you have today for us?
So when you are relocating from one state to another, what tax write-offs are offered? What tax write-offs do you have? Especially moving out of Massachusetts.
I know one of my siblings just moved out and went to Florida precisely because of taxation. So yeah, you had asked me, can I write off my moving expenses? No.
But I have a business too that I moved to. So it's not just personal.
You moved to a new business?
No, I'm moving my business from Massachusetts to Maryland.
Okay.
I'm not going to keep a Massachusetts address. Because it costs me $500 $500 a year for the LLC, and another $775 a month for my company insurance, along with other deductible fees that they like to fit in there, which in Maryland is only $99.
Right, correct. We definitely have to look at your situation, but typically if you move in just, because your family decided that you want to move out of state and it's not work related, you really don't have any write-offs for that. But in terms of like your business itself, you changed the LLC. Did you dissolve the LLC here in Massachusetts?
No, I haven't. I'm waiting to meet with you. I'm still trying to get all my documents together between moving and so forth, and with my mom's situation, which kind of threw me for a loop. So I'm working on her situation as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces in the situation.
Yeah, if you haven't dissolved here, going to a new state, then it's gonna be your primary state. So of course, I mean, there might be some tax write-offs for that, but we have to take a look at your situation because
Okay.
it's very complicated. But just if you did, like during tax season, we get a lot of these questions like, can I do this? Can I do that? No, it all depends. It's usually no, but also, of course, sometimes it all depends on your situation. So we have to take a look at that. So one of the questions that actually got asked earlier this week was, how do you create a vision board? Because I talked about that. Have you ladies started a vision board? Have you ever done a vision board? Okay, Natalie, can you explain to our audience, how do you get started with a vision board?
I like to think about what I want to accomplish, what I want to work on
Correct.
for the next year, and think of theme words or even things that I would like to cross off my to-do list and all put that all in there. Vision board.
Like, what do you have on your vision board this year?
Million.
She's not supposed to say that, Gabrielle. She can't tell that.
You can be,
I have health.
specific.
I want to be healthy.
Yes, you can put like health, wealth, prosperity.
Yeah, you can do that.
I
But
put all that, but I put million in big letters.
I mean, I've been doing vision boards since the 90s.
Okay.
I've been manifesting my intentions since the 90s. I've set up an altar when I first started with a Bible and a plant and a glass of water. And I would put pictures on there that I was asking God for, whatever your spiritual belief is. And that's how I manifested what I did over the years. Correct. But I also belong to a church in DC that's a church of mediums or spiritual guides. And they taught me that in the church on how to plant a seed. So however, whatever your spiritual belief is, you can plant a seed on a board or you can do it in a box. I suggest the box for prying eyes because everything's not meant for everyone's eyes.
Right.
And it could be your own family.
Exactly.
Not that they don't love you. I'm sorry, I just said to jump in it because this is my expertise.
No. I love that because I remember you said that before. If you live with other people, it's probably wiser not to have it,
right.
Yeah, it's probably more
displayed.
Not displayed in front of everybody. Yeah, and then if you have people coming in and out too, you don't want to display it because not everybody can really relate to what you're trying to do in life. So you gotta be very calculating about that. So you have your vision board. So we've talked about why is it important to have things written versus, of course, vision boards, they're not in your head. They're written. Do you think it's important to have everything written versus I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about millions, but it's not on my, it's not on my vision board. What do you think about that, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, the way you can think about it is this, take a moment to really think about what it is that you want, and nothing is too small and nothing is too big. Whatever that is to you, I say to just think about it and write it down. And there's another way of doing it where you can clip things from magazines and make a nice collage. If your thought is that you want a certain car, you want a baby, or you want to manifest a home, or what you want it to look like, putting those things in the front of you and you can see in a place where you can see it every day will help you to keep kind of oh yes, I do want to do this, stay in line. Or even like a fitness goal. There's maps that people can get to say, this is where I started and this is where I want to be, or have an inspiration photo. I think keeping that in mind always keeps your focus on what it is that's important to you.
Correct.
We've talked about you to stay disciplined and focused. Sometimes I tell myself if you don't do something different, then you're not going to get the result that you want.
Correct. I like the idea of staying focused because at the end of the day, we have a number of different things pulling us so many different directions. So it's so important that you have things written down. And if you have it, like if health is important to you, you're gonna make an effort to get up, do some exercising, right? You're gonna get up and eat healthier. You're gonna get up and focus on your health. If your spiritual health is important to you, you're gonna get up and meditate, pray, read your word or whatever you need to read to really help with your spiritual health. But you have to have it written down because I noticed for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you ladies. Like if it's not written down, it's not getting done. No, it's not getting done. It's always tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. It's never gonna get done. And then before you look up, it's like again, time is short, life is short, but also life is very fleeting. Before you know it, it's another decade. Before you know it, it's another year. And 12 months, you know, 12 months go by like this. So it's very important again, you know, the show, Let's Talk Money with Friends, we tackle so many different topics. And the reason for that is because we want you to think strategically and say, you know, this is the roadmap that I want for my life. And how can I plug in all these different topics that Gabrielle and the ladies here are sharing, her guests, her friends? How do I plug them in each one of the goals, like the goals that I have? You talked about, go ahead.
I also have found that writing it down is one thing, but I also make it a point monthly, quarterly to visit it just to see how far along, what did I work on this quarter, this month, you know, how much closer am I to my goal? Because if you write it down the beginning of the year and then, you know, you look at it again the following year and you're like, oh, I didn't work on any of these stuff. So I think for me anyway, it's imperative that I constantly look at it just to see, you know, what I can improve in, where I need to work a little harder, what needs more of my focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that in terms of like actionable plan that you have to have. And also, is it measurable? You are trying to see, okay, have I done it? And can you measure it? You know, hey, my health is important to me, but how many times did you go out? Or how many times did you go to the gym this week? How many times did you go for a long walk this week? You're a runner. Did you go out to run? Or, you know, are you doing anything at home? Like you have to be able to measure and have specific actionable plans, because if you don't have something specific that you're doing, you can wish all you want, right? I'm writing it down and I fold it in my book and then I call it a day. A year later, it's going to be in your book, right? It's not going to be something that you can measure and say, oh, I have been able to accomplish this, right? Lisa, we talked earlier today, you had mentioned like, you know, people plan for emergency funds. Again, when you're doing a planning and you have a budget, right? Emergencies. Have you guys thought about that? Is that something that you had conversation with your husband and things like that? Either one of you ladies, Lisa or Dawn, or actually Dawn?
I can go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
So one thing that I started to do was, you know, take a look at your finances. You know, are you cash flow positive or negative? And I did that several years ago because I had goals for myself. So, but you might not know where to start. But I came across Dave Ramsey as one thing to start with. And, you know, I don't follow everything, but for the majority of things of, you know, making sure that you're living below your means, not above your means, and kind of taking a tally. What do you typically spend your money on? Where does it go? And if you were to actually just take a look at the map, you'll realize, oh my God, I spend all of those streaming services, $6, $10, $15, all of those add up.
I need to get rid of some. I don't even watch that much TV or any, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even small things like that to maximize where you taking control of your money and where you want it to go.
You know what I did this year? I don't know if you, I've always had something, but this year I'm making a point, like every time I spend money on something, I'll go to my Excel file and enter it. Like, I'm like, okay, how much have I been spending so far this year on nails? You know, like doing your nails. That costs money, right? Dawn, doing your hair. right? Or going out to eat. I
Yeah,
know,
my
like,
nails, my hands and feet cost me $100 a month.
oh
Mhm.
gosh,
So,
I
but it's
know.
well worth it because when I was spending $50 at the local salon, I call it nail salon. I know with my niece, when she does my nails, she cleans her tools properly. And I'm not in there with a number of other people. So I don't have to worry about, even though I wear my mask when I'm with her, I don't have to worry about catching COVID. Because for a long time, I actually didn't get my nails done when COVID first started because I was fearful of that. So there was a lot of things I cut out, and I actually enjoyed being home more. I enjoyed being home more, and they said during the pandemic, it either made your relationship stronger or people broke up because the outlet allowed them to spread their wings a little more when they weren't home. But I loved being home. I love being a housewife. I love catering to my husband, my king. When he got on my nerves, I got on his nerves. We separate. I go to one part of the house, he go to one part of the house. So, but I want to go back to the vision board. Right. And these queens, what they're saying, they're absolutely amazing because there's different ways of manifesting what you want. And I teach people how to manifest their true intentions. And like I said, I've been doing it since the 90s, but actually we all been manifesting all our lives. We just been manifesting some things we didn't want. So to manifest your true intentions and what you really want is different. And what I learned was I did a vision box. So the first year I moved to Massachusetts was 11 years ago from Maryland, and I put all my stuff in storage. I was giving love one last chance. And on New Year's Eve, I told my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, let's make a vision box. And he's like, what the heck is that? Because this is totally trigonometry to him. So I made a box and I decorated with his name, and I decorated a vision box for myself. And we were cutting out pictures, and we got some magazines, like Lisa said, and he cut out pictures of things he wanted. But I wasn't looking at what he was doing. I was focusing on what I wanted to accomplish. Make a long story short, when we moved into the house a few years later, I saw his vision box sitting on his desk, on his dresser. And I was talking to my cousin. I was like, I bet you Michael don't have nothing in his vision box. And he was at the firehouse. So I said, let me look and see what he got in his vision box. So I snuck and looking in his vision box. And all he had was in his vision box with money, pictures of money, and a silver F-150. Do you know he had just bought an F-150 2 weeks before I had brought that, before I had went into his vision box? He had forgotten about it. And everything that I had accomplished, I accomplished 90% of the things in that box. And I had that stuff that I had totally forgotten about. So when you're planting a seed, when you plant something, I planted it and said, this is it. It is done. And don't think about it no more. That's what has worked for me. I also learned when I used to sell new homes from a sales expert that write a list of 10 things you want to accomplish. And within a year, you accomplish 90% that's on that list. And it works for me every year. And I mean, you always got to work to be ambitious. You should never just sit there on the couch and think nothing's going to, it's just going to happen. You always got to work towards your goals if you're an ambitious person. But when you plant that seed for that vision box or vision board, you have to know that when you plant that seed, you're planting, you don't have to water because subconsciously you're going to water it.
Yeah, it's so important because, we've been talking about, the legacy that you want to leave behind. But also we've been talking about how you live your life today, how you are very intentional. Every year you were not here when I mentioned the quote that I heard at church today, because I just came from a funeral. Well, it was an all-day thing. And the pastor said, life is short, live it slowly, but intentionally. You have to be very intentional. How do you get to be intentional if it's not written and you don't know where you're going? You like a car running down the road here and you don't know where you're heading because you don't have it written. And I know some people, for years, I used to be like so many who are watching perhaps, well, it's all up here. I'm good. I'm very smart. I can get it done. I've done it. I've done it without anything written down. Well, just imagine how much more you could be doing if you just create a plan and really be very intentional about how you live in your life. So going back again to typically folks are looking at, we talked about the insurance, the estate planning, and a little bit about taxation, but emergency fund. Because the reason that we've been talking about these things on these topics on Let's Talk Money, because we know how much stress you could actually the alleviation of so much stress if you would just take the time to create a plan. Because I was talking to someone recently, and I said to them, "What you gonna do? What you gonna do?" Because she, for the last 3 years, been calling me saying like, "I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep." And I said to her, "Well, what have you been doing?" And I actually found a couple of things that she could do, like one of which is exercising, right? Because when you come out and you do a physical activity, you do get very tired, and it helps you sleep better, right? Because I know it does for me. And also too, there are certain things you can do, like, your environment. What's your bedroom like, right? Because if you clean up around you and you create a sanctuary for you, and you create a space where it's only for sleep, it's not something that you do like every single day, all day you're watching TV. Like, I don't have a TV in my room. Why do you have a TV where you have access all day to? And there's so many things, like tangible and actionable steps you can take. And this person, 3 years later, I still cannot sleep. As a matter of fact, today, I just got a prescription to sleep. And I'm like, listen, honey, you haven't done anything that's been given to you, opportunities. So if you're not doing anything, how you expect to, like you were saying, Natalie, insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. And of course, you go to a doctor and you're saying you cannot sleep. They're not behavioral psychologists, right? Many of them, they're medical doctors. What they're gonna say, what you need something to sleep, right? So going back again to what we're saying, like in terms of like planning for emergencies, how do you plan for emergencies? You create a plan, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you just mentioned, Lisa, that when you create a plan, you talk to your spouse about it, and then you take actions. You said, I have a young lady that I follow online. She's like, okay, every week I'm gonna save $20, and that's $100 a month. Have you seen that happen, Natalie? Like folks actually taking steps to create that emergency plan?
A little each paycheck adds up, you know? Yeah. If you start with $20, and maybe I was just telling my mom, I want to take a big trip, so I'm putting extra money in my vacation account. Right. And you'd be surprised. I've already done the math, and I'm like, 1 year of extra money means at the end of the year, this is how much I'm going to come up with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you said, Queen, like I envision it, I planned it, and I put it in the work.
Yeah. And I think it's the same. Would you say the same is true for investment or retirement planning? Because there was a research done recently. I forgot who did it, but they say most people have fears, and number one fear is outliving their savings. Like, of course, we want everyone to live a long life. You want your parents to live until they're 90 or 100 years old, right? But what about how they're gonna financially support themselves throughout those years? Social Security is not gonna be enough, right? So yes, you can work towards getting your units, your credits towards Social Security. You have to work 10 years to have access to Social Security or full access to Social Security. But at the end of the day, it's not gonna be enough. You're gonna need to subsidize your income some other way. So having a retirement plan, you just mentioned, like saving slowly but surely, putting a little bit at a time away. Now, your husband just retired and you just retired. How are you able to, I know you've shared that, but How were you able to plan for that so that you can have the peace of mind that you have today, knowing that you're not gonna go to the poorhouse because you guys actually did plan properly for that retirement? What would you advise someone who's like at the very beginning
Are
of
you
their career?
are you speaking? Is that question for me, Gabrielle?
Yeah, it's for you.
Okay,
Yes,
I apologize. Well, first of all, I didn't retire.
your husband did.
My husband did. So, and he takes care of majority of the bills. So I'm able to branch out in my spiritual business. And I also just got a job recently as a spiritual advisor. So I'm able to help people talk them off the ledge and help them guide their lives spiritually. So he planned for us. So I'm allowed to be home and work from home at my leisure and also look after my mother. So, but we're still always planning and saving because we're getting ready to build this house. So, you know, we got to plan for that. You know, I want to decorate it a certain way. There's certain things that I want and I must have in this home, and I'm planting the seed for that now. But I just wish if everyone could just get away from that fear factor, because fear is spoon-fed to us. It's been spoon-fed to us from birth. It's been spoon-fed to our people. It's been spoon-fed to our children. And when we stop thinking inside the box and start thinking outside of the box, we can expand so much more. And if you could believe in your God or whatever your choice or spirituality, whatever you choose to be, and know that it's going to be okay and do the proper steps, you'll be all right. But we got to stop looking at the news and certain things where they're constantly feeding us fear. Like the pandemic. The pandemic, to be honest with you, was the best thing ever happened to me, other than my children and my husband and my family, because it allowed me to stop and reset and focus on ourselves for a chance. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to stop and focus on themselves and enjoy one another. Enjoy who you are for. Love yourself first. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I love the idea. Fear is such a big thing all over, you know, fear this, fear that. But again, you mentioned something that's very important. And I know for me, the way I've been able to get rid of fear is through planning. When you have it written down, like you said, do the work, plan, stop thinking about it, stop losing sleep over it. Again, what you gonna do? You gotta take actionable steps. Go ahead, Natalie.
I have fear mixed in with anxiety. One way that I combat it is to plan. Like my dad calls me morbid, but I made sure that they're all set. My parents are all set. I'm all set. The pandemic happened. We're losing loved ones left and right. So the way I combat it was to plan for the unexpected, plan for tomorrow. Like all the actionable steps that I can take today for tomorrow, I put that in my plan. I want to live a long life. Hey, if that means I'm going to jump on the bike for 30 minutes, or if that means that I'm going to put X amount of dollars in my 401k, or you know, I have, you know, insurance to cover this or insurance to cover that. Like, we have insurance for our cars to give us peace of mind. So why not do it, you know, in terms of our loved ones and our future, and to build generational wealth?
Correct. It makes sense. Again, what you gonna do? I think we were saying it offline that many times folks are not doing because they're not asking questions. They're not asking questions among themselves, like, you know, with friends. They're not having these conversations. They rather stay home worrying about everything. You know, I worry about what's going to happen to my kids if I'm no longer here. I'm worrying about, like, when I'm older, how am I going to spend, how am I going to have enough to live on? I'm worrying about, you know, paying for my kids' education. I'm worrying about, you know, my house. You know, am I going to be able to keep it? Am I going to be able to pay the mortgage? They have all that. But what you going to do? Ask questions and take actions, right? And also associate yourself with folks who can help level you up. Because at the end of the day, if you want, you have to have a vision board. You have to have a vision, and you gotta find support. Again, the purpose of the show, we've been having like really a casual conversation today. Typically every week I have an agenda that has specific questions about specific topics. But I thought today, not only I was like going through a really tough time this week with the funeral and everything else, but I also wanted to have a conversation where it's just like a casual conversation. And I think, and I hope that others who are watching will take the same model and have, when they have 4 friends at home, instead of talking about maybe the Desperate Housewives, are they still on TV? I don't know, like some silly show, but they'll have conversation, about, they'll have conversations about, their own lives, their purpose, are they living maybe a little bit too fast? The pastor said, life is short, so live it very slowly, but intentionally. Slowly, but intentionally. And to think about your significance, what are you trying to, what do you want to be known, or what's legacy do you want to leave behind? Because the legacy that you leave behind, it's going to be reflected on how you treat your family members, the ones who are around you, and people like, I'm like a distant connection because this person is not even that close to me. But today I went to his funeral and I was like, really crying because I felt like this one came through this life and made a difference. And everybody else is testifying the difference that he made. And I do believe that he not only made a difference in taking care of his family while he was alive, but also while he's not here. So this conversation that we have every Wednesday is to help you, motivate you, right? Would you say, Dawn and Lisa, motivate you to have similar conversations at the kitchen table?
And
right.
Even more importantly, I want parents to have the conversation early with their children. Don't make them feel afraid because we don't know when we're going to go. Make them always feel secure, like anything can happen to me, but while I am here, I'm going to take care of you and make sure that this is what's set up for you, should anything happen to me, and I think that they don't either want to talk about it, but if, God forbid, a child is 12 and their parent starts to talk to them about different things, or 16 or 18, reevaluating and telling them, here's what's changed, here's what's set up for you. If anything were to happen for me, this is where you need to look. That child will feel secure in knowing that I can take care of myself. I know what's and what to expect moving forward. So that's if I had to encourage anybody to do that. I know many people might experience their parents not wanting to have that conversation or set things up, but just know if you do have children, that would really make them feel secure in what you have in store for them, but also for them to feel like they have the responsibility of taking care of what you have provided for them as well.
And I think it's so important to start early because many times the conversation about money with friends who are older, with friends who are maybe at college level, even young adults, it's difficult because you've never had it before. This is not something that you grew up having, right? So it's so important. Like not too long ago, you mentioned that one of your grandchildren, right? She's a saver. She saves her money and all that. It's so important to get them going early and to show them examples on how you plan, how you create vision boards, how you create a roadmap.
She's actually watching right now. She's actually not watching. She's actually listening.
Does she have a question?
Ms. Day, do you have a question? Ms. Day? No question?
Not yet. But yeah, it's so important that we have this conversation. Actually, there's this book that I was sharing with friends of mine. It's just conversation about money and how kids should actually do games and play games that relates to how to invest, how to save. What are some of the terminologies that adults now had to learn in college that you should learn while you're young? So again, I agree with you, Lisa. Start early. Not only telling them what you're gonna do for them, but also what they can do for themselves. Would you agree, Natalie?
I definitely would agree.
Yeah. So any other questions?
I would also say, also for us, when we think about our parents, I know a coworker who lost her mother, and the parents don't want to have these conversations, but where's the policy? Where's the important document being held? Because after the fact, looking for it, going through a house full of things, is so difficult. But if you are aware of, hey, all the important documents can be found XYZ location, and this is where the policy is held at, and et cetera, then it makes life much easier. And like you said, Dawn, just plan for it. It's gonna happen.
I do want to say something though about wills, because I did a will before I left Maryland years ago for my children, and I registered it at City Hall. So if they needed to know who gets what, they go straight to City Hall. That's another outlet, because what if your attorney passes away and leaves the law firm?
Yep, that too. That's a great idea.
Yeah, you should have these documentation, especially as your kids getting older. They're all adults now. Should have that conversation around the kitchen table or the dinner table to let them know. You know, if you've raised your kids well, you shouldn't have any worries like, oh my gosh, you know, if I tell them I have this and that, something's gonna happen. I know for many people, that's usually some of the, you know, many of the concerns. Like, I don't want to tell them what I'm gonna leave behind, because that might be an incentive for them to do anything silly. But you don't want to worry about that. It's so important that you have these conversations with your kids so that they know. And going back again, we talked about the will earlier before you got on, Dawn. Everyone should have estate planning. We've been talking about it, Natalie, estate planning. Don't wait until it's too late, because at the end of the day, when, it's not if, we all gonna go. So if you do the planning, not only would you would have lived a really great life and really touch people's lives here on earth, and they'll remember you like they did this gentleman today, Pastor Jovan. You know, folks were like crying from all over the country, came from all over the country. Actually, I think all over the world too. People came in to honor him, but also you'll live a legacy that your family's not gonna be no fighting when you're not here, because you took the time to plan while you were alive. So our objective wasn't about estate planning today. We wanted to have a Q&A where you had questions. And so this show is going to end, but if you have questions throughout the week, feel free to ask about, you know, how do you create a plan? Your health. We have a lady who's always on, talks about how important health is. You know, your health is your wealth. Please ask questions about that if you want to know what you need to do. Again, going back to this person telling me that, oh, I just got a prescription to sleep. And I'm like, okay, you didn't try any of the other options. You know, now you have to be on the medication. So it's very important. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving her prescription, but I could tell you some of the changes that I did for myself, and I was able to sleep better because of that. So you can share that with someone. Insurance, emergency funding, you know, saving for your retirement, investing, and of course, taxation. That's my expertise. Please call me if you have questions about that. And of course, you know, to whom much is given, much is required. Every single day we come here on a Wednesdays because we give in to you, because so much been given to us. We're sharing our knowledge and our ideas with you so that you can go and do likewise. So I will encourage you to have a conversation, because you've been given the information. Go pay it forward. Have a conversation with your kids. Have a conversation with your friends about what matters, because your questions matter. And also too, your purpose matters. So thank you so much for tonight. Any last word, ladies, or should we say goodbye? Thank you for being on, Lisa and Dawn and Natalie.
Thank you, Gabrielle.
Yes, and please share, like, and make a comment and ask a question today. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Have a blessed day. And again, remember, life is short. Live it with purpose, slowly,